go down the pathway of providing dollars to people and they don't have to exchange labor, which is the way our economy functions, for money to pay for their goods and services, do you think that leads to a labor shortage, yes or no?
Like I said, I believe we're experiencing a shortage of good jobs, not a shortage of labor. And I think it's really critical not to blame working people for
I'm not blaming
prices.
working people. What I would say is I'm blaming government policy. Because if you're given money without having to exchange it with labor, having to take your talents and abilities, and you're getting money as a result, it depends on the industriousness of the individual at that point. I'm not blaming anybody. If you're giving out free money, shoot, okay, cool. Most people are just gonna go ahead and take it. We know this, but if you have a legitimate economic choice to make at your kitchen table, I can go work 40 hours or I can go work 20 hours and our living does not change. People have their own decision to make about what they're going to do. The point I'm making is that labor shortage, which was created by the quote-unquote American Rescue Plan, led to a labor shortage. And that labor shortage has led to price increases because you had people who had the revenue and the disposable cash flow to buy goods, but not enough goods in circulation to purchase. Mr. Goodspeed, is that an accurate assessment of what's happened in America since Joe Biden became president of the United States?
Yes, I think that's a fair description.
So, let's establish a couple things. Are prices up? Yes, they are. Electricity prices are up. Good prices are up. The only reason why gasoline prices are down is because the president's been basically buying down the price with releases from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which, by the way, that's coming to an end as well. We are in a recession. I think we've covered a lot here. Look, I understand the majority party's desire to try to put this on corporate America for raising prices. But if you do not have enough workers working, there's not enough goods produced. If there's not enough goods produced, but everybody still has money to go buy goods, the price of each unit actually goes up. That's how inflation is always created. More policies of the same is only going to lead us further down the road to perdition, which we are already on. With that, I yield back.
Well, good morning, and welcome to the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. The Morning Report is a production of FightBackMedia.com, 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 and FightBackMediaTV.com. We trust you are well this fantastic Friday. You made it to Friday. Congratulations, you made it to Friday. And because you're here and you're watching or you're listening, you probably didn't hurt anybody. You know, and sometimes it's touch and go. I understand. Sometimes it is touch and go. But you didn't hurt anybody, so I'm glad of that. I want to finish up the week with some things that are kind of going to tweak you a little bit, but I want you to be encouraged by them. I want you to go into the weekend encouraged. And if you have a chance to work on some campaigns, if you have a chance to help some people get elected, then please spend some time this weekend doing that, and in service of your neighborhood, in service of your city, your county, your state, your nation, because it's going to take, I mean, this sounds like a COVID thing, but it's going to take all of us. It literally is going to, take every single one of us doing what we can, where we can, when we can, to make sure we stop the bleeding of freedom and liberty in our nation. I hope this program is a program that you enjoy, but you're willing to do something. You're willing to comment and share. You're willing to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I saw someone the other day from TikTok who said they found the YouTube channel and they subscribed. Thank you ever so much. I appreciate that. We appreciate that greatly. I really do. My hope is to, by the end of 2022, get to 1,000 subscribers, and which makes us a minuscule channel. My thought on Facebook, you have these huge creators who have millions of subscribers, and you have the medium ones that have a couple of 100,000 subscribers, and then you have the small one, the small people who have tens of thousands of subscribers, and then you have the rest of us that are people like me who are who's minuscule, who has less than 1,000. Under normal circumstances, we would not be able to be monetized. And as a matter of fact, even when we get to 1,000, we probably won't have enough hours viewed to actually get monetized. So we are minuscule, less than 1,000. We barely exist. Doesn't stop us from getting copyright strikes. Doesn't stop us from getting community guideline strikes. Doesn't. I mean, at least I know they go after everybody, because they dang gonna sure go after us. So right now I don't have any active strikes. So go ahead and if you are not subscribed, please subscribe. Please share. Please comment. Please like. Well, like if you like. If you don't like, you can dislike, I guess, or leave it alone or whatever. Well, let's get started with the stories this morning. And there are stories. We talked yesterday about Stacey Abrams, who is a candidate for governor in the state of Georgia. Now, I mentioned this on the TikTok live yesterday. Stacey Abrams' claim to fame is that she was the first Black woman to be nominated for governor by a major party in the state of Georgia. It's awesome. I mean, when I heard that initially, I didn't know who Stacey Abrams was. I mean, I figured she's a Democrat and whatever, but I thought, first time a black woman has been nominated by a major party to run for governor in the state of Georgia. That was cool. It was a very, very close election with Governor Kemp, the Republican, and Kemp won by a pretty small margin. And Stacey Abrams has never conceded that race. You remember how not conceding was a terrible thing when Donald Trump did it? Stacey Abrams has never conceded that race. As a matter of fact, she, what in her circles, she still thinks she's governor. And there are people who believe Stacey Abrams is actually the governor, won the governorship of Georgia. She did not. But she's been able to capitalize on all of this by putting together a machine, and literally a machine in the state of Georgia, bent on turning Georgia blue. And she has had a lot of support from people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the Democrat machine. A lot of the woke politicians and the woke celebrities, all of it, LGBTQ community, all of it, all of the left has been in the Stacey Abrams camp. And with that, it doesn't look like she's going to win again. It looks like she's going to lose again. I don't know how much weight we can put in the polls, but it looks like she's going to lose again, and this time probably worse than before. So it's sort of, I don't know, I guess it kind of shows why she's in the position she's in and saying some of the things she's saying. She said that that machine, the ultrasound machine that they put the gel and on the woman's belly, so you can see and you can see images of the baby, and you can hear like the heartbeat and that kind of stuff. What Stacey Abrams said the other day was that there's no such thing as a 6-week heartbeat, insisting that that is just a manufactured sound. It's made up. It's make-believe. It's a hoax, according to Stacey Abrams. And it's done for this reason, so men can control women's bodies. Interesting. Interesting. I was listening to someone on the radio who had probably a more crass but realistic viewpoint of this idea that men want to control women's bodies. If you're talking about the worst of men, they're not out there trying to have women have these children that they don't want to take care of. They're like, if the woman's decided to have an abortion, murder the child, and the man doesn't have any responsibility, can go upon his merry way, spreading his seed wherever he wants to, sowing his wild oats without repercussion, a lot of dudes are going to say okay with that. It's going to be just the opposite of what they're trying to, portray here. Don't you think? But she says there is no such thing as a heartbeat at 6 weeks. She claimed adding it's again a manufactured sound. Stacey Abrams has also recently admitted that she supports a no limits on abortion, believing that it is morally okay for a woman to abort a baby, kill a child up until the time of birth. I don't know of any other words than demonic. I don't know of any other term other than demonic. When somehow you will say, whether you believe it or not, that it is perfectly okay for the child to be murdered as the child is being born, as the child is exiting their mother. It is okay to murder that child. It is absolutely amazing that it's hard to wrap your head around that someone is there. Someone, I don't know how they got there. And when they are there is no middle ground. There's nothing to discuss. There's nothing that we can say we can agree to disagree with. There's nothing. There is zero. At that point, I have to fight you. We have to fight. We have to fight at that point. We can't agree to disagree. We can't just say, well, everybody has a choice. You're okay with murdering children. You're okay with murdering live children. I can't abide with that. Can you abide with that? She said there should be no limit. The limit should not be made by politicians who don't understand basic biology. Well, the child is being born. Look, there's the head, and there's the arms, and the feet, and the torso, and the toes, and they're perfectly formed, and they are breathing. The child is breathing. How much do I have to understand about biology to recognize an alive human being? How much does any politician or anyone really have to how smart do you have to be to go, oh, that's a baby, that's alive, look, she's crying, and she's got a vajayjay, that's a girl. Oh, her twin brother, he's got a pee-pee, that's a boy. How much biology do you have to have? How much biology do you have to have? Or apparently basic morality. What moral system? Help me with this. What moral system that's ever existed in the world has advocated for the death, the murder of these children, of children being born? What morality has advocated for that ever? What moral system says, yes, it's okay for people to kill their children? It's fine. It's moral. What? Hearing people, Megan McCain. Okay, Megan McCain. Hearing my baby's heartbeats at 6 weeks is hands down one of the most exciting, liberating, and most beautiful moments of my entire life. Hands down. GOP gubernatorial candidate Kelly Ward said this. This woman is not only again proves that she's a total idiot or a liar or both, but also shows how gullible her supporters are. She needs her supporters to be gullible. She needs her supporters to get on board with whatever she says. And you know what? And they have that. They have that. I'm going to tell you, they do. They have that. Excuse me. That so it doesn't make a mess. There you go. They have that. Not a lot of people came out on Twitter to endorse this statement. I think it was like one doctor that came out there and he just got friggin' hammered. But there hasn't been any pushback from mainstream media. Right now, we're going to play that clip so you can hear this coming out of her own mouth.
There is no such thing as a heartbeat at 6 weeks. It is a manufactured sound designed to convince people that men have the right to take control of a woman's body away from her.
That's just amazing, isn't it? That's absolutely amazing. But you know, I've always said that the left is what they're really good at is just saying it, no matter how insane it is, no matter how wrong it is, no matter how cringy it is, they just say it. And what they're hoping is that people will just keep saying it. It'll be like Goebbels, just keep saying it until it's true. Unfortunately, Goebbels didn't have fight back media on the other side. So out here exposing the falsehoods, exposing the truth, and exposing the truth, what the truth really is. And that is the most important thing. Let's not ever forget that, or forget that. In a poll lately, we've been talking about, you know, the Arizona governor, Texas governor, and Florida governor shipping illegal immigrants to sanctuary cities. A new poll released basically says that a majority of Democrats believe sanctuary cities should share in the burden of illegal immigration. Let's get to the article. While busing migrants to sanctuary locations across the country may be unpopular among Democrat politicians and wealthy progressives, Republican governors argue it's necessary because border towns are overwhelmed. And now a new poll from CRC Research survey conducted for the 85 Fund shows that a majority of likely U.S. voters agree with the sentiment. In order to manage the influx of illegal immigrants crossing the border, the state of Texas has sent buses of immigrants to other states in sanctuary cities, including Chicago, New York, and Washington, D.C. The poll reads, do you agree or disagree that sanctuary cities should have to share the burden of dealing with these illegals and not just the border states? The survey found that 63% of likely voters agreed the burden of illegal immigration should be shouldered by more than just the border states. Nearly 25% disagreed, while 12% were not sure or didn't answer the question. It's always amazing that if you get a chance to like answer these questions, you're like, I don't know. Morons. Broken down by party affiliation, a majority of Democrats, 51%, agreed, while 78% of Republicans and 63% of independents also expressed their support. The survey, first reported by the National Review, was conducted between September 14th and September 18th among 1,600 likely voters. As the Biden administration officials continue to insist the border is secure, Republican governors have increased the publicity surrounding the issue by sending migrants not just to sanctuary cities, but dropping them off outside Vice President Kamala Harris's residence, as well as sending them to Martha's Vineyard, where they were promptly sent away. They got a bus. 2 days later, they were out of there, and people were clapping and waving like like they were sending these people to camp. They were sent away to Joint Base Cape Cod. Migrants are now suing. Well, Governor DeSantis' office said there was no coercion. Nobody tried to coerce them. They could have bailed out anytime they want. And actually, the migrants aren't suing. To be honest, there's a class action suit on behalf of the migrants. Guess who's involved in all that? The transportation of immigrants to Martha's Vineyard was done on a voluntary basis. The immigrants were homeless, hungry, and abandoned, and these activists didn't care about them then. A statement from Republican governor's office said, Florida's program gave them a fresh start in the sanctuary state, and these individuals opted to take advantage of the chartered flights to Massachusetts. It was disappointing that Martha's Vineyard called in the Massachusetts National Guard to bust them away from the island 48 hours later. Yeah, that's it. That's what the deal is. They got them out of there as soon as possible. Thanks, y'all got to go. Y'all got to go. Now, like I said, these people are being sued. The governor is being sued in a class action lawsuit. It is interesting when you start looking at class action lawsuits and who's involved and who benefits. It's interesting to find out. Look whose name popped up. Of course, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is now facing a migrant-based lawsuit. That's what I talked about, for dropping off 50 illegal aliens in the posh island retreat of Martha's Vineyard. Wealthy white liberals were sent into a state of shock, hair on fire shock, declaring a state of humanitarian crisis because they didn't have the resources to deal with 50 additional people on the island. Nobody's buying this. It's wrong. Nobody's buying this. Eventually, they deported these migrants, even though the mansions on the island could have provided shelter for the beleaguered illegals. The National Guard was mobilized to deal with the situation. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is also shipping illegal aliens into Blue America. These open border localities are not all that pro-immigrant when busloads of them are dropped off. It's time for Blue America to shoulder some of the burdens for the invasion they're endorsing on our southern border. Cry more is the only reaction when these Democrat officials complain about resources being stretched thin over a few hundred immigrants entering their fiefdoms. Town Hall already wrote about the receipts that Governor DeSantis' team keeps that shoots holes in the legal action facing the Florida governor. And you'd be shocked the activists group involved in the lawsuit that received $1.3 million from guess who? George Soros. The activist group at the center of the class action lawsuit against Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis and other Florida officials for migrant flights to Martha's Vineyard have received $1.4 million from the George Soros' Open Society Network. Lawyers for Civil Rights, a nonprofit immigrant advocacy group, filed a lawsuit on behalf of Alianza Americanas, according to a press release Tuesday that described the latter group as, quote, a network of migrant-led organizations supporting immigrants across the United States. Alianza Americas also received a total of $1.3 million from the George Soros Open Society Foundation between 2016 and 2020. The Open Society Foundation's records show the grants came from his three nonprofits: Open Society Institute, Open Society Policy Center, and the Foundation to Promote an Open Society. Not the first time this organization has received money from George Soros. The class action suit filed by lawyers for civil rights in the District of Massachusetts alleges that DeSantis and others, quote, designed and executed a premeditated, fraudulent, and illegal scheme centered on exploiting this vulnerability for the sole purpose of advancing their own personal financial and political interests. It's no kidnapping. Joe Biden even chartered secret illegal alien flights from the border. So checkmate. We're beating the left at their own game on immigration. DeSantis and Abbott should be sent twice the number next time to Martha's Vineyard, Washington, D.C., or the Big Apple and Chicago. That's what should happen. That's what should totally happen.
Governor of California sent a letter to the Department of Justice saying you need to prosecute Texas and Florida governors. And all I can say is I think his hair gel is interfering with his brain function. I also was a little bit perplexed when I heard that the president is scrambling to get his cabinet together to try to address the fact that you have governors who are helping to relocate illegal aliens to sanctuary cities. Now, he didn't scramble to get his cabinet together when we had millions of people illegally pouring across the southern border. He didn't scramble to get his cabinet together when you had 53 migrants die in some trailer in Texas because they were neglected by the federal government. You didn't see him scramble to get his cabinet together when we had Americans that were victimized by criminal aliens that he led across the border. You didn't see him scramble to get his cabinet together when we hit record fentanyl deaths, which that fentanyl is coming across his open border. It's only when you have 50 illegal aliens end up in a very wealthy, rich sanctuary enclave that he decides to scramble on this. And so I think what we are doing I think what we're continuing to do is use every tool at our disposal to insulate the state of Florida from the negative ramifications of his reckless border policies. And yes, that involves helping with transport. It involves suing on catch and release, which we have done. It's involved making sure that contractors are held accountable if they're facilitating this into our state. And we have a statewide grand jury that's looking at different types of practices that may be going on in the state that's exacerbating the problem. And so the end of the day, this is a massive policy failure by the president. This is a massive and intentional policy that is causing huge amount of damage all across the country, and it's all rooted in a failure to take care that the laws are faithfully executed and to fulfill his oath of office. And so instead of scrambling and worrying about a bunch of rich people and having 50, and oh, by the way, they already bust them out. They're gone. They said we want everyone, no one's illegal, and they're gone within 48 hours. And so why not actually look at what's going on? There were more Acela corporate journalists in Martha's Vineyard today than have ever gone down to the southern border to look what's going on. Why don't you go down there and look what some of those communities have to deal with every day?
Wow. You know, and that's really the deal, isn't it? I mean, that's really what the deal is. The deal is, why didn't somebody see what's actually going on down there now? And nobody was upset, again, when the 53 people died in the trailer. Nobody's been upset about the people who've been murdered and raped on the way here. Nobody's said anything. These people haven't said anything. The president hasn't said anything about when these illegal criminals come across the border and wreak havoc in states like California, Texas, Arizona, and all over the country. Nobody said a word. New York Times, Washington Post, NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, silent. And people can cry and whine about these are human beings. Well, they're all human beings. And these policies have to be exposed. And that's exactly what's happening. These policies of the Biden administration are being exposed. And they don't like it when the truth gets out. They don't. Hey, y'all, thanks for coming. My name is Blair Lawson. This has been The Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We'll see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.